If you open LeetCode right now, stare at a medium level problem, and you immediately feel like losing your laptop forever, let me stop you right there. Stop jumping to LeetCode directly. What you first need is a roadmap. Hello everybody, welcome to Tech with Nanad, and today we will be covering the exact roadmap that you require, specifically curated for beginners to start your problem solving journey. Without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. Step 1, as I always say, master a programming language. You need to have the command of at least and at most one programming language. This is what I said in my last video as well. You need to understand the programming language inside out before you start learning DSA. DSA requires you to have a command over the syntax so well that you should be able to read through your code like it's basic English. When you choose a language, you need to have the basic knowledge starting at loops or variables till pointers at least, or at least passing something by reference to functions and everything. Once you have completed till functions, the game doesn't stop there. You now move towards OOPS, which stands for Object Oriented Programming Systems. OOPS are a way to represent real-time objects or real-world objects in your code as instances. OOPS is used a lot on LeetCode and on other DSA platforms as well. Most of the times you will be needing to code a data structure yourself. You need to implement that data structure yourself, and you will be using terms like classes and structs in your programming language. So you need to have a good command over OOPS, and it is also important from a computer science perspective. So make sure to learn that. Step 2, and this is very unconventional. I've put this myself in this video. What you have to do here is to solve non-DSA problems. Now, what exactly are non-DSA problems? I'll firstly highlight what the problem here is. Many people, after mastering a programming language, directly jump to LeetCode and start solving DSA problems. There is a huge gap between actually writing a programming language in code and actually solving a DSA problem. DSA problems on LeetCode or HackerRank require you to have a good amount of knowledge of programming. You need to first find problems which are non-DSA problems. And by non-DSA, I mean very basic problems. These problems involve, I'm putting out 5 top patterns out here. Number 1, printing the star pattern is what you need to understand. This will gain you a good knowledge of loops and how do loops work internally. Star pattern and pyramids come at this stage. Number 2, finding if a number is odd, even finding if a number is prime. So this will tell you exactly how mathematical operations work. An upgraded version of this problem is number 3, find till number n how many numbers are prime and print them out. This will really help you to understand how, while a loop is enacting, you can actually try to make those calculations internally, and then we can move to optimization when we finally reach DSA. And number 4, you can have something called as a matrix. And then for that matrix, you can try to say if the matrix is an identity matrix or not. Is it an upper triangular matrix or not? If it is a lower triangular matrix, if the matrix is a valid only even number matrix, if it has only odd numbers. So you can do these type of problems, which are non-DSA problems, to understand the underlying patterns. And a huge note here is to not use AI while doing this. You can only use AI to give yourself questions. You can tell the AI like, hey, listen, I need the question. What more complexity can you add to the question and return that question to me? This is what you can tell the AI, but that's it. Nothing more than that. Step 3, the ultimate order of all the topics I've listed out myself out here. In the last video, I had briefly mentioned all the topics, but that was not enough. And then some of you told me to actually make the video on this topic, which is an entire DSA roadmap. So we are coming to the topic, the entire DSA roadmap. Let's get started with it. Number 1, arrays. Arrays you have already learned while learning the programming language, but trust me, the arrays that you learned there and the arrays that you're going to learn now are absolutely different. The arrays that you're going to learn now will have a lot of different archetypes, patterns, like a problem 2 sum, which is on LeetCode, which requires you to find 2 such elements from an array which add up to a target sum. This is not something that you have yet solved. Arrays have multiple topics, for example, 2 pointers, prefix sums, problems like traversals and manipulation. Number 2, sorting and search. Here are a few sorting algorithms that I've listed on the right side, and on the left side, you can see a few searching algorithms that I've listed. Now, these algorithms, out of them, you only need to understand merge sort, selection sort, insertion sort, and from the searching, you will be only using most of the times binary search. Binary search is most of the time seen on LeetCode in many problems. Once you see the arrays sorted, there's tons of problems on LeetCode which involve binary search. So make sure to do binary search very well. Doing binary search or these sorting algorithms will inherently improve your arrays. That is why I did not say a lot about arrays in the first part. So you will be doing these 2 problems right here, and they will really boost you up in terms of DSA and in terms of arrays. Number 3, hashing. Hashing basically translates to unordered sets and unordered maps, or sets and maps. Hashing is a concept that is used to count elements in an array, a set, or a list, and also to track elements in an array or a set or a list. So previously when you solved arrays, you may have come across LeetCode problems like count duplicates and everything, and you may have seen a hole there. Why don't I have something which can actually track that, okay, this was my element? Why do I have to always keep looping and checking if there is an element that exists? Okay, so that is exactly the application of maps. It lets you track all the elements in O of 1 time. Now listen to me. O of 1, what is it? It's a basically big O notation, and about notations I'm going to make a video on that as well. For now, you just understand that maps or sets or hashing in general is a very efficient way to keep a track of your elements, and while learning hashing you will be understanding a lot of problems like count duplicates or maybe any other problems. You can also use it to optimize the first problem to sum, which we solved. It has a mathematical derivation to that. You can solve it later on as well. Number 4, heaps. Heaps are a data structure which are used to keep a track of the minimum most or a maximum most element. Heaps primarily have two types, min heaps and max heaps. Min heap is basically a heap which will keep a track of the minimum most element at all times, and a max heap is an heap which will keep a track of the maximum element of all times. This is most of the times used to solve problems like the topmost k element or the kth largest element or the kth smallest element. It will basically insert all the values to the data structure, and then but it will always have just one value on the top, which is either the minimum or the maximum. It is very useful, and it is again a very supportive data structure. Heaps are a bit complicated to understand, as once you reach heaps you will realize that a bit of things are flying in the air. Now it's getting a bit complicated, the syntax is getting heavier. So you will eventually start growing at this stage, because this is where you actually start learning DSA. Okay, after heaps, we are coming to the big famous data structures, stacks and queues. Stacks and queues are very small in nature. Stacks and queues don't require much knowledge in general. Stack is a data structure that follows the LIFO principle, which is last in, first out, and queues follow the first in, first out, which is the FIFO principle. Stacks always have a few standalone problems, valid parentheses, or any other problems, and queues are generally also have a few problems, but they both of these data structures most of the times serve as supportive data structures as well. Stacks are used as monotonic stacks to solve a few sorting based problems or efficiency based problems where you need to keep a track of things. Queues are used primarily in the implementation of graph BFS or even level order traversal in trees. After stacks and queues, I would want you to take a pause. What I mean by it is now we will be shifting back from the territory of data structures. Now we will be targeting something called as recursion and backtracking. Now they are very different compared to what you've learned before. Recursion, you may have heard about it. It is basically a function calling itself, and backtracking is basically going into a recursion call, and if you don't find the answer, you come back and you go again in a different recursion call. That is quite simply the definition of recursion and backtrack. Recursion and backtracking problems involve n-queens, Sudoku solvers, Sudoku validation, etc. They are very difficult to understand as a beginner, but when you solve them, because you need to solve them, you cannot jump to the next data structure. The reason I'm telling you this, because the next data structures will put you to hell if you directly jump on those data structures. You need to first understand recursion and backtracking. For recursion, you will be first understanding Fibonacci sequences or factorial sequences on how recursion is internally being called, and then there are a lot of classical problems about recursion on LeetCode which you can solve, and along with that recursion you will have backtracking, where backtracking there are three classical problems, top problems: Sudoku solver, valid Sudoku, and n-queens. They are very, you can say, very difficult for a beginner, but when you actually understand and dry run the patterns, and once you understand backtracking and recursion, trust me, it's going to help you a lot in what I'm about to tell you in the next steps. But please do backtracking and recursion very well and very firmly. Do not skip it or do not treat it as just a normal or a small or a very difficult so I left it type data structure. Now we finally jump into the territory of pointers. Again, the thing I told you in stage 2 that you need to learn a programming language, this is why. Pointers will be used in this data structure, and we are officially turning towards linked lists, the very famous data structure where everybody used to tell you reverse a linked list. Linked lists are data structures where data is stored in the form of nodes. Each node is connected to the next node, and you always have the access to the first node of the linked list. Linked lists use a heavy pointer based approach, and this is why I told you to learn pointers first. Secondly, linked lists are very famous to have edge cases in them. Now what do I mean by edge cases? Edge cases mean a part of a case or a part of a problem that will always try to break your code. It will be a section or a test case that you would never think of. it is completely not even relevant until you think about it in an overthinking fashion. So these edge cases are always breaking people's codes. People are usually struggling with a linked list pointer going out of bounds. The pointer is pointing to a null value and you're changing the value. And for countering that, you need a lot of visualization in your mind about how your pointers are moving forward. That is why you needed the basic knowledge of pointers, and you needed the knowledge of backtracking and recursion. This is why I told you to do it before, because backtracking and recursion will completely open your brain up about visualization and how pointers and things are moving around. And finally, we come to the end of medium level data structures, and the last person you have here is trees. And the reason I put trees after linked lists is both of them use pointer based approach. And now I'll be revealing to you why recursion and backtracking was before trees. In tree based problems, you always have to use recursion. You will be given a root, and your recursion call will keep going deep inside the tree until you find a result or whatever you coded for. Trees also use two types of traversals, BFS and DFS. DFS meaning depth first search, where it will go to the last node and then come back. Backtracking, that's why we did it before. It will go to the last node and backtrack to the next node, whereas BFS will check every node of its current neighbor, traverse those both nodes, then traverse the next neighbor of the next node. And that is where you use queues. And now we finally arrive to the two great bosses of data structures and algorithms: graphs and dynamic programming, the two data structures or methodology which make every single DSA aspirant sweat. Quite literally. Graphs is a data structure which deals in nodes. Every node stores some data, and that node is connected to another node as a parent or as a neighbor. Graphs have three types of representations: adjacency list, adjacency matrix, and edge list. For doing graphs, you need the knowledge of BFS and DFS traversals, exactly what we discussed in trees. This is why the roadmap is placed this way. When you do trees, you know BFS, DFS. When you come to graphs, you simply replace that two children approach with n children approach. That is exactly what you do, and there adds a new visited array to the entire implementation, and you will learn more about that when you study graphs. But this is the general gist of graphs, and with that, there are multiple algorithms like Dijkstra's Bellman-Ford, or the topological sorting, which I said is actually Kahn's algorithm. So there are different types of algorithms for different types of problems, and you will start learning them. The final boss of data structures and algorithms, where this is an algorithmic methodology: dynamic programming. Most people just see the word in the topics dynamic programming and they close the problem right there. That is how scary people think dynamic programming is. But trust me, it's not. You already have studied recursion, you have studied backtracking, you have studied 2D arrays. That's all you need for dynamic programming. Dynamic programming, firstly, is basically solving smaller sub problems to get the result. Dynamic programming means that you will not be solving some problem that you already solved. The best example is Fibonacci. In Fibonacci, if you have done the recursion code, you realize that many times you're calculating the same recursion again and again. The dynamic programming simply tells you that you will be caching that result and you will be using that result again instead of calculating it. That is just what dynamic programming is. And there are a lot of archetypes in dynamic programming. A few of them are 1DDP, 2DDP, LIS or LCS, which is longest increasing subsequence or longest common subsequence, partition DP, tree P on trees, bitmask DP, etc. There's a lot of archetypes. Don't be worried about it, but I will tell it to you very honestly. Dynamic programming is difficult to understand. You have to do it multiple times to learn it. Dynamic programming has these archetypes. Recursion, memoization, tabulation is the approach, and you need the knowledge of recursion, backtracking, and arrays very heavily. Okay, you need all of that. You need a lot of knowledge about function pointers, as well as sometimes you may even need the knowledge of oops. You might need something from that book as well. And seriously, that's all you need to do. And finally, after this roadmap, there is one piece of advice that I would like to give you is consistency. I've seen a big chunk of people, probably I think I can say 98% of the people, starting DSA, finish arrays, end. That's it. Now then they just get bored of it. So yeah, that was all about the DSA roadmap that I wanted to create. This entire roadmap has been curated for beginners. You may even ask or choose to have a bit of a deviation, maybe move around a few data structures back and forth. But this is what I have visualized just for all of you guys to actually study the data structures in that fixed pattern, so you will be correlating to the concepts that you're using before. So be consistent with it and follow this roadmap through and throughout. Thank you so much everybody for watching the video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and put down any feedback you have in the comments, or maybe anything that you want in the next video. I'll surely make a video about that. And that's all from my side. Thank you so much for watching. Ninad out.